do a variety of technical and sort of digital materials to get us organized. So my name is Jerri Husch. I'm a sociologist, and I'm very interested in complex social systems. And the work that I've been doing has been both between an academic setting as well as between a practical. I'll just let everybody get settled. Okay, this is good. Hold on. So hello, far away. So although we were saying that there'll be questions at the end, should at any point in time in the conversation something you want to jump in and that's not clear, just simply raise your hand. This is designed to be very interactive and actually quite informal. So we have a number of things we're going to share with you, but it is such that we want you to be able to ask questions if you would like to. Plus, we both have American accents, so there may be terms that we use that are slightly different than here in the UK. So to begin with, I'm just going to set the stage. Why are we here? When we talk about climate change, I want to make sure that we at least begin with a similar set of terms and a set of assumptions. So I'm going to sort of set the scene, and then Jenny's going to come in. We're going to see a very brief video explaining the work that she's doing, and then she'll give more of the details, the specific technical details of why actually we're on campus and why we've been so, what I call privileged, to be able to work with the Center for Interdisciplinary Methodologies. So to start it off, because I have no idea who you are in the audience, we're going to start off by this idea that we really have, at this moment that we're living in, a very new context, a new reality. And that reality has been clearly defined, as you can see with the technologies that you're holding. It's a completely new way for us to deal with, as I would say, interaction, both with the environment that we live in, as well as the way in which we sort of make sense with each other. And I call that, in my language, I call that complexity. And I'm located down here, and this is true, in what I've been calling the sociosphere. And the sociosphere is linked to, some of you may be actually biologists, some of you may be environmental scientists, some of you may be focusing on meteorology, but what we're beginning to recognize is that those, as humans, we live in a set of very interrelated sets of systems. And I call that complexity. Okay, so we live in a complex universe now that certainly 100 years ago, maybe we could even say 50 years ago, might even be able to say 25 years ago, it was not the same context that we're dealing with now. And as Jenny will speak to later, the system that currently is used to organize what we call global governance, especially around the environment and climate change, is sitting in this complexity. Okay? Okay. So to make that real, this is the kind of context that we live in. We work with people, and this is a very diverse audience here, so we know that many of you have come in from various locations on the planet. And let's go to the next one. And that complexity, we tend to think, oh, electricity is electricity. So when we hear about climate change, for example, we tend to carry with us this idea in our minds. So for example, here, if we look from afar, what are we actually looking at here? What are we seeing? What are these images showing us? Electric lights, right? From afar. And it kind of all looks the same, doesn't it? So how many of you have had the experience of this? Is this reality? Yeah. So from afar, it looks the same. It's electricity. But the closer we get to real people's lives, the more we have to really deal with cultural differences, or what we call the social context. And that social context, as you get deeper and deeper, this is really complicated, isn't it? How many of you have been someplace and you land, or you're going to visit someone and you want to plug in and you just can't. And it changes your relationship, right? Suddenly you're all excited and, oh my God, what are we going to do? And your entire relationship has changed because the context is really important. So how do we deal with this when we have what we're calling here multiple data sources? We've come up with a solution. How many of you carry this with you if you travel? Huh? Yeah. So we're trying to come up with a way to deal with this complex idea that there are multiple ways that electricity can be delivered to us. So we've come up with this way that we have this solution. Well, this is actually no different than what we're trying to deal with when we're dealing with data. So here's some more data. Okay, how many of you have traveled and maybe been in these contexts? Okay, the first one is we have a pest, we're going to smash it, right? Our action is let's get rid of it. If it's a pest, the meaning of it, the cultural context. In another context, you might have these beautiful, right? Are you from China? Yeah. So you may have these beautiful bamboo little houses where you put the little crickets because it's good luck. And in another context, if you travel just not very far, these are delicious. You're going to eat the thing. So that context, for those of us who work in international cross-cultural settings, which is complex, we have to figure out a way to deal with the reality of real people's lives on the ground. And so what have we done? Well, we have multiple data sources. If you deal with climate change adaptation, we know we're going to get environmental studies. We're going to be getting gender studies. We're going to be getting impact studies, right? We have multiple data sources across a lot of institutions. So how do we deal with that? Climate change is complex. Well, what we've decided and been working on is we have a solution that we're actually here at Warwick, University of Warwick, with a team who are experts in dealing with methods. And we are asking them to help us develop this solution. The solution grew out of very practical questions. How can we bring together all the different kind of data that deals with climate change? And so we're here looking at ways that we can bring together text, okay, when we talk to each other, when we have reports, actually SMS. How can we bring together the statistical, quantitative kind of materials? X percentage of people will be underwater, whatever. How can we bring that together with the networks? Who makes a decision about what will be done in your community to deal with climate change? And our bottom, our GIS level. So our challenge this week and why we're here is how can we bring these together? Just like we wanted to have a single adapter for our electricity, we're seeking to see if we can develop an integrated solution that brings together these diverse data sets. Okay? So that's where we are. That's what we're here for. And Jenny's going to give you a much more in-depth view of the particular project that we're seeking to use that we're seeking to solve. Okay? So that's where we are with the